Hello there, and welcome to Thank the Maker, a podcast about heroes, princesses, scoundrels, hokey religions, ancient weapons, and all things Star Wars. My name is Adam Russell.
Is it my turn? I used to go second. I'm
Go
Ryan.
second. And I am thrilled to be the third wheel in this, Mike Forster.
Damn, that felt good.
Oh my gosh, Ryan!
Ryan.
You're just hearing you second up. Oh my goodness!
Hi. Hello.
Wow!
It's been a minute, sir.
Wow,
back.
buddy.
Last time we were on a podcast together, we were in the UK, mainland Europe. Where the hell? We were in Europe. Yeah, we did the
It's
John
all-
Williams thing, right?
I think
John
it's all a
Williams
blur.
episode.
Yeah. We were in a hotel room, and I believe it was somewhere either in the UK or mainland Europe.
I don't know. Dude,
I truly have no fucking idea what country we were in.
yeah, it's touring is a whole lot of where am I today? But in Europe, especially in those buses with there's not as much visibility out, and just it all kind of blends
Yeah,
together.
and it was getting dark at like 2:00 in the afternoon, and
Yeah.
my dog was dying, and my wife was alone with my infant child, and
My wife.
I guess he wasn't an infant, but he was still a small guy. That was a tough run. But I will say, highlight moment, the John Williams podcast. That was man.
It was great, and great to hang with you and talk. We had cocktails like the old days. It was good
Yeah.
stuff. It's good.
I should have one of those right now, but I'm trying to dial it back a little bit here.
What are you on,
as of late.
P90X? You trying to get shredded?
Oh
All
man,
right.
what a treat. It was great, Ryan, to see you this weekend at Mosh Isley. Thank you for coming out and appeasing the
Yeah.
people. Dion from in Berlin was there, filling in for Adam while he was gone. It was truly a fantastic experience for everybody who was there. And yeah, I'm just loving this resurgence of just the finest of pop punk and
Yeah,
emo.
we're getting the band back together. you know?
Oh man. Speaking
Um,
of which,
You have literally gotten the band back together.
Yes,
I really enjoyed this weekend. I will say that if there's at any point going forward, if Mosh Isley continues to happen in Orlando, a city where I will soon be a resident of, I'm in the process of moving to Mouseland. If there's just any chance, maybe we could do the show at a place that the dressing room doesn't feel quite as much like a High School Musical.
right.
Full, like just
Right.
I mean, it's kind of an event for me, like catching up with the family, our little Star Wars family, and seeing everyone. And look, man, I've been in show business a long time, but
In the
it is hectic back there, man.
It's very hectic.
It is hectic.
Yeah, it's hectic. I know. There's a lot of like passing by and all that stuff. So we'll work on that, Ryan. I
be like, hey, man,
promise.
let's sit down and have a cocktail and catch up.
Sure,
it's
we
more
can
like-
work on that.
Excuse me, there's 14 Twi'leks and a couple of bounty hunters that need to do a quick change in this same tiny room that we're all trying to pretend like we like Trulies because that's the only drinks that they could get.
Right.
You need that
right.
that yellow card wellness room with like a like essential oils and some kettlebells and
Yeah.
yoga mat. Need that.
Yeah.
shit.
I was just
And the-
Dion and I were talking about it after, and we were making the reference that it felt like a public school, High School Musical back there, which as much as I'm joking about it right now, actually is what makes it fun. It's like everyone just running around in Star Wars costumes,
Set change,
doing
set
quick
change.
changes.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah.
miraculous. It's pretty
Yeah.
spectacular.
Yeah.
Really?
The last time I think we had a bigger room was actually when we were all in Wisconsin together with I think now that I'm remembering this, the bottle from The Mandalorian that I think Yellow Card still owes Adam Russell for. Put it on the
No,
card.
no. Paid.
Oh, that's right.
Square it up.
Did I not?
Square it up.
I haven't Venmoed you yet.
No, you did.
Still?
You paid, yeah.
Okay, good. See, Mike, why are you trying to get me in trouble?
This
dude?
is what people remember about the podcast.
I'm on top of my finances, dog.
He is. He really is, people.
My credits are in
speaking of-
line.
Speaking of being on top of it,
Mhm.
5 years
5 years.
to thank the maker.
5 years since my dad's office
Yes.
and a webcam.
You will notice we're missing someone. Going
Yes.
back to the Europe conversation, that's exactly where Nick Garian is right now. Well,
Yes,
he's not in the European Union. He's in the United Kingdom. He's in
he's
Manchester.
so cold.
So
So
cold.
cold.
Probably feeling damp, little shivery.
Mhm.
But we have a message from him that we'll play later after we get into things here. We're talking about 5th anniversary. Technically, our first episode was January 20th, 2020. So we're a little behind, but our first official episode, the one that remains as the first episode in our catalog, if you go to look at it, was February 6th, which was
Has the January 20th episode been removed?
yes, because it told kind of the origin story and what the format was going to be, and it was just you and me. So
Yeah.
at some point a few years ago,
Copy
I
that.
took it out.
So February 6th is the first we were covering a thing. We were trying to be podcasters. Like,
Yes, we did. Let's see. The first one we did was The Force Awakens, right? Yep, we did The
Yeah.
Force Awakens first. It's harder for me to know what movies they are because I thought I was clever by giving everything a title like "Let the Past Die."
mm-hmm.
Every generation has a story, and when I should have just put the damn movie title, that would probably be better.
Well, it
Well-
took you a while to figure out clickbait, but you got it.
Yeah, I'm baiting these days. We're baiting. Go away,
Yeah,
bait.
not as bad as some of the other people in our space do.
There's a lot of bait in the water.
Man,
Yeah. We've been people have been chumming.
Beware.
you know, that's one thing about the 5 years is I've been aware of the space, you know, aware of other creators, and we set out with a concept and like I don't know, sort of a mission statement to inject some positivity into the fandom, and I think that the podcast has always maintained that. And to be honest, for me, I'm an open book, full transparency. I've stepped off the podcast when I felt like maybe I couldn't do that, when I felt like we were covering something that I don't know that I could fully get behind, you know, not being very critical of, instead of coming on and being really critical and spewing a bunch of negative shit about something that I don't, you know, it's not why do that. But I, over the 5 years we've been doing this, I have become hyper aware of how basically every podcast except for ours is just a bunch of dudes complaining. Every single podcast except for Think Maker. I know there are others that do what we do. So I don't. If you're out there and you do what we do, I'm not. You know,
You
loudest
can't
voice
do
in the
what we
room
do.
sometimes gets, you know, the attention, and I hate that. But I'm really proud of what we built, even though I'm not, you know, a full-time part of it anymore. Currently, I would love to come back to it. Laura asked me the other day. She was like, "Do you miss the podcast?" And I was like, "Yes, of course I miss the podcast."
You
But-
were like, no, Gabe, I absolutely not.
Only looks to
She didn't ask it in a way that seemed like baiting at all. She was very concerned. Like, "Do you miss it?" You know. But anyways, man, I have noticed what a beacon of light this podcast is in a sea of just the most hateful, awful, terrible fandom. And you know who I'm talking about. You know who you are. You probably listen to our show, and you know exactly who you are. And I'm not going to get into that on this show, but I really would like to maybe at a con run into you. There's one person really that I want to run into, and just sit
Physically
down
run
and have a
into.
beer, have a cold beer, and try to find out why. Just can we talk like adults and find out why you have to be so terrible about everything?
Maybe
Why you gotta be so rude?
Yeah.
maybe in Japan.
Maybe in
He will be
Japan.
there.
And so will we.
He who shall not be named.
Yeah.
To quote Nick Gambarian, thanks for the reminder, patrons. Imagine liking what you like.
It's my favorite quote, dude, and it came from our own show.
Just imagine that.
It's awesome.
Think about it.
Imagine, remember
the
when he said that, we
possibilities.
were like, Socrates? You know, we were like,
Wow.
Socrates?
That's
profound
deep.
wisdom from Nick Gambarian. And that quote has stuck with me this whole, you know, for literal years now. And I think that's at the core of what we do. And I love that. I think that it is important to recognize when, for me personally, can't speak for everybody, when there's something that I do truly take issue with, and I actually do find, you know, I think, wow, why was this decision made to do this? And I think there is some rot at the core of what's going on with certain aspects of this IP, but we have always managed to promote the love of, just as you call it, Adam, the Space Wizard show. And that's so important, and we've done a good job. So good job, guys.
Well, good job, you
Good
guys.
job, Ryan. Good job, you guys.
Patting backs all around. Yeah, it's honestly, like, it's tough to maintain anything. Mike, speak to this. You and I have the affliction worse than probably anyone either of us know. The ADHD thing and like the
Yeah.
shiny stuff that's always just right there in front of us that you want to jump to as the new thing. Like to maintain something, in this case, 255 official episodes for 5 years. Most podcasts don't get past the first, what is it, 4?
3.
What is the average?
4 or
3?
5. Yeah, 3 or 4. Yeah.
Mhm.
And we're not a huge podcast by any means, but the numbers that we do, although they fluctuate, are in a range that surprisingly, believe it or not, I talked to somebody who it runs a podcast network that we almost became a part of. The numbers we do put us, no joke, in the top 10 to 20% of all podcasts on Earth.
That's insane, man.
Isn't it?
Mhm.
Like, I look at our
What an
numbers sometimes and I'm like,
accomplishment. Like,
what are we doing? And then I think about it in context. It's crazy.
what a remarkable achievement for something that, as I said, 5 years from sitting in my dad's office in that weird pre-pandemic time. I guess
Yeah.
did we record that over the holidays of 2019 because I was home visiting my parents? Probably that would have been why I was at their house when I recorded the episode.
Yeah, the
And
very first
then-
one, remember it took us like a few months of
Mhm.
recording, then I would cut it up and figure out what we need, and then we would add some stuff. Like that
Yeah,
the first
so-
intro was like 4 different recordings.
I don't remember exactly what month it was then that I was at my parents' house in 2019. That was why I recorded there. But after the episode released, and famously, February 6th is the day that I got on a flight going to LA or coming back. Can't remember whichever way I was going from Florida, and sat down next to Ashley Eckstein. And that is a relationship and a friendship that evolved to the point of her nearly officiating my wedding until we decided to elope instead of actually doing an invitation, full blown wedding. But she was going to marry my wife and I. And I met her for the first time on the day of our first episode on Thursday. I was on the plane. I mean,
Force
that is
works in
just
mysterious ways.
Yes.
It's true.
What an
It's true.
unreal journey it's been.
Well, we
But
have
when you
some-
think about it too, from this other side of things, right? I start listening to your podcast because I grew up listening to both of your musics. And then from there, we get into meeting other people within this community, going to Star Wars Celebration 2019 and really like reconfirming. Adam, was that your first celebration? Was 2019 in Chicago?
I went to Celebration 4 in LA
Okay.
in 2007, but I didn't understand cons. I didn't experience it like
Sure.
Chicago.
Right. So, and Ryan, you had been to
My first was Anaheim in 21, right?
Whoa.
Post pandemic was 21, right?
22.
22.
22. That's
Yeah.
right. That was my
Yeah.
first celebration. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I think about that from going, that was the first time we all met was for the Star Cruiser, which is no longer there, but it was an experience that I think none of us will ever forget.
It's here.
First time. The first time for me being in Disney, all of that stuff in Orlando, and then just meeting all of these people that we talk to daily now.
Mhm.
Like this is like making friends is incredibly hard as an adult that aren't,
Yes.
you know what I mean? That aren't like the relationships that don't exist outside of you actually wanting them, right? Like it's
Mhm.
crazy how many people are just, they're friends of yours because you work with them or because they just happen to live across the street from you. And that's all,
Proximity.
that's fine. But like we literally are friends because of a shared loved mutual interest that we end up finding each other for being like, we're actually just, there's this amazing group of people that just has this one thing that all connects us. This podcast, I think for a lot of people, was that vacuum that got everybody into it.
Absolutely. And even right here,
It's
Jason.
the spark that ignited the fire,
Exactly. Our buddy
Oh.
Jason Chiodo, who's not on screen right now, but he's listening in as a producer. He's become our producer and our editor. And along the way, we've worked on other things together. He and some other friends have worked on Mosh Isley. But I remember Jason was a listener and a patron pretty early on, and I remember getting a message from him, and it was something like, "Hey man, not to, you know, overstep or something very polite like that, but I noticed something with the intro music. It sounds like maybe there's something going on with maybe a bit rate conversion or something. I'm an audio engineer. I do this, and sent me this like very polite, like, here's the thing that I noticed kind of thing. And as a person in a band, Ryan, like you get demos, you get people talking about like, I do this thing that's like you and all this kind of stuff. So it's like hard to feel that kind of stuff. But being a different thing, being in the Star Wars community, we're all like, we become friends with people who we wouldn't become friends with otherwise because of different contexts. And, and then we start messaging, and then we get to know each other better. And years later, here we are. We're working together on Star Wars. We have this friend group that, Mike, like you said, wouldn't have been formed any other way. And the fact that it came out of like one of the darkest times in our lifetime, started in the pandemic, started from the bottom, now we're here.
And like no plans for any of that with me and
plans.
you, Adam, when we started it. We had no idea the network that was going to expand from, trying to make those first few episodes.
Yeah.
It
we were
was
stoked to hang and talk about Star Wars.
Yeah. And we had talked about, well, you had been like really adamant about like, dude, we have to do a podcast. And I was like, I don't have time to do a podcast. And here I am again, regrettably telling you I don't have time to do a podcast right now. But either way, full circle moment 5 years in. But I think it's really amazing how we started it the way we did, with like no knowledge or tools really of how to do it. And it really grew into something so much more than the podcast itself. And I think, that's why I fell so hard into Celebration and the Star Cruiser and all those things. It didn't really have anything to do with Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars was being that immersed in Star Wars as an adult and getting to kind of play like a kid in that way. Was really cool, but it was really about playing like a kid with my friends, and it's just wild. It's wild how we started this thing, me and you, going like, I guess let's talk about the movies and we'll break them down and like see what happened. And then just it's wild.
Again, the force at work, the wills even.
Yep.
All right, let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about our history. We have this long, again, talking about stuff we didn't expect we could pull off. This long list of guests, some, friends from music, some people that we just knew kind of, a couple degrees of separation away, some actual guests from Star Wars, some people from other media makers and things like that. Mike, you want to go down this list and just give us the quick and dirty rundown of some people that we spent time with over the past 5 years on this podcast?
Yeah. First of all, as someone who didn't know you guys before, I remember that being one of the coolest parts about this podcast, because we were in that millennial age where Star Wars was, you had two people who didn't like Star Wars, leave those people out. People who like Star Wars. Some of them happen to be in your favorite bands, right? Which I always think was really great. So for our musical guests, because that's kind of how some of this started, we've had Ryan Mendez from Yellow Card, Dion Rexrow from Amberlin, Chad Gilbert from Newfound Glory, Oshi Bashar from Beartooth, John Feldman from Goldfinger, Mike Herrera from MXPX, Alex Gaskarth from All Time Low, Samir Bhattacharya from Flyleaf, Ryan and Josh from Story of the Year, Travis Miguel from Atreyu, Kevin Jordan from This Wildlife. And those are just the musical guests, and not counting the people who we might talk to later this year.
It's interesting how musical guests were such a tentpole concept for the podcast when it started, but then the podcast started to work, and it was like, oh, we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this.
It's working.
And now, Mike, please carry on with the next list of guests that we quickly had to start saying, maybe we don't do band people anymore because shit's getting real.
We was like, you're sitting here being like, listen. We're gonna get We're gonna get a background actor from Java's Palace. Mike Herrera, get out of the way.
That's right. Linda,
My
listen.
gosh. Star Wars guests, we've had Ashley Eckstein, Paul Sen-Young Lee from The Mandalorian, Chris Bartlett, also from The Mandalorian, Amy Allen, Ayla Secure herself, James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Emily
what?
Swallow. What? And like people who like we had great, like you guys had great conversations. This wasn't just
dude,
like
the Emily episode was amazing.
Incredible.
We got a couple clips from that later that might bring me back to tears.
Oh,
Cool.
I love that. Heather
Can't wait.
Antos and Charles Beecham from Marvel Comics.
Repeat
Amy,
guests.
what's that?
They've been on more than once.
Multiple times.
Right?
Yep. Amy Ratliff from she's Star Wars author, Art of Galaxy's Edge, Ely and Me. For those of you who have kids and know that book from Galaxy's Edge. Armor Party, my own podcast, has had a numerous amount of people, including the person who sculpted Darth Vader himself in Brian Muir. We had Frank Ippolito on this podcast. We've had Kate Sabaker, most recently of Tippett Studios, who helped put together the giant trash crab. Media guests, we've had Mark Bricky. We've had Austin Romero of WWE, Ken Knopzak. We've had Jonah Ray, Madman's Knowledge, and Patrick Husinger. And we are probably missing some people. This is just a quick little fast list, but that's a crazy list. Like there was some intense firepower in this list. I think that's something to note.
I'm damn proud that we pulled off it, especially. I mean, the Ashley thing was like, talk about like just the stars aligning. That really helped pop some stuff off. But like that was so early. It was episode 23. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And I when I met her and realized that we were going to actually form a relationship and a friendship. I mean, my wife and I have stayed at her house there, her and her husband's house. Like we're family. I mean, it's really crazy to me still. Like Ashley refers to herself to my son as Auntie Ahsoka. Like that's my life. And so that I did, but I didn't think we were going to get her on the show. There was a lot of red tape. They, as those actors, whether they're voice actors or film actors in Star Wars, in Disney, any major studio like that. But especially with IP like Star Wars, you can't just go do whatever you want to do media wise. And when I met Ashley, she was literally on the road promoting the final season of the Clone Wars. And, I was like just hauling ass through the Clone Wars to get ready for the final season of Clone Wars at that time. So the fact that we got her on the podcast, not that long after that, and it was such a special episode. I can't believe it. I just can't. I don't understand. Is this real life?
It is. Yeah. It did help that I stopped F-bombing like every 9 seconds on the podcast. That helped her make the decision to be a guest.
Yeah, remember we were going to go back and droid beep every original episode. We just never got around to it.
It's 22 episodes. It's so much work. Anyway,
I mean, I was always for hiring someone to do it. You just like to do everything yourself. That's okay. It's who you are.
Yeah, we also started with no money at all. There's about $1,000 invested in this podcast total for 5 years, and thank you for that. Before we get into some clips, because we went to the patrons who've been the reason that this thing has kept going for 5 years. It literally wouldn't be possible. The amount of time and effort it takes to make a podcast, it's a lot. Everyone, especially if you're a white dude, middle-aged white dude who's like, I can do a podcast. It takes a lot of damn work if you're going to do it for real. And that, time is money. Whether or not you can pull it off yourself and you have the skills is one thing. Whether or not you can afford the time to do it is another thing. So patrons, truly, you are the only reason this is possible. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your community. Thank you for, everything. Just, it's been great to get to know a lot of you and hang, and it's very special. So thank you. But like I said, we went to them to get some feedback. We asked for their favorite moments, favorite episodes. And instead of just, voting on what your favorite episode is, we got some specific moments, timestamps. We pulled clips. We have some things we're going to read from folks, and we're going to do that in a moment. But first, let's catch up with our buddy Nick from Manchester, England. Here he goes.
Hey fam, it's me Nick. I am in Manchester, England, in a truck stop somewhere outside of the city, and yeah, I figured I would say hi, and I'm sorry I can't be there to all the guys. I do want to be there. It's been a lovely 5 years knowing you all, and oh, the lighting is way better this way. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure you've been talking about it a bunch, the last 5 years, all that we've accomplished. It's been amazing. All the people we've met, all the things we've done, pretty cool. Good job, everyone. And, yeah, I'm trying to think back my favorite memory. I mean, I don't want to necessarily say my favorite memory is like an episode or anything, but really just the beginning of it all. I think I was episode 4, 5, 6, something like that. I was just a guest on the show. And Ryan and Adam came to my living room and we talked about Solo for one of the episodes. So I'm just really grateful and happy that that happened. And here we are 5 years later. It's crazy. Feels more like 3 years, right? It's not really like 5 years. But yeah, it's really cool that we got to do that and helped ourselves stay sane during COVID and create a little community here. So love you all. May the force be with you. And I'll see you soon.
Uh-oh. We added Nick, lost Ryan.
That's what happens.
For anyone who's watching right now, I don't know if Nick recorded that in Instagram or what, or if he has a setting on his phone, but that was definitely mirrored, and mirrored face Nick, I
Is
feel
cursed.
like is cursed. Like
Yeah.
this is like a Star Trek episode. He's supposed to have a mustache that signifies that he's the bad version.
Right.
You know that's how it works.
But it's
The
upside
mirror-
down like Captain Hook.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe Ryan's coming back. Maybe he's not.
He said his
Yeah.
computer's crashed. So I think Ryan, of course, goes up in Mosh Isley this weekend. He's like, Orlando, I love you. I'm moving back here. So he's not shy about telling people he's literally in the process of starting to move and on all that stuff. So we'll give Ryan a pass. He's been a little busy doing everything. But from exactly like what Nick said, I mean, I think for a lot of people who grew up listening to this music and Bayside Story of the Year, Yellow Card, these are like iconic bands for me and for a lot of our patrons too. Like that was kind of the draw for a lot of people. But I think Nick said it in so many ways of the people and the people that have come up to us at cons. And I specifically remember feeling like there was a part at Celebration where Nick was blown away that people were coming up and saying hi to thank the maker, not, oh, dude, you're Nick from Yellow Card. Oh, dude, thank the maker, which I remember you guys were so shocked by that. And I thought that was funny, but then also realizing too that like I'm part of that, because then it was like, hey, wait, oh, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, yes, hello, I am this person too alongside you. But I remember that being such a weird thing for you guys to not just be stopped at Warped Tour and be like, it's Adam from it's like, you thank the maker. We listen to the show, which is still, when I hear this, even this weekend at Mosh Isley, people coming up and being like, the reviews, what you guys did for Skeleton Crew, dude, couldn't tune in fast enough as soon as you guys were getting episodes out. So thank you, of course, to Jason for turning those around super quick, but then also just like what Ryan said too, being positive. It matters, dude. It matters to like Star Wars. This stuff matters, to look at it from the intention of people who put their heart and soul into making something that was really great for a galaxy far, far away, and having people respond to it, support it.
Absolutely. And dude, I didn't mention at the top when we were talking about relationships that were made along the way, but I feel like we told the story enough times the way you and I met years ago. When you were at the Story of the Year show as a teenage kid,
as a wee lad,
and and then you just started reaching out very early on, I think, and you sent me some Hondo Supply stuff, and we just got to know each other fast, and then you you pitched me the idea of Armor Party, and
Yeah.
it's just one thing led to another, and here we are.
There he
You're
is.
back. He's back.
He's back.
Is
Hi.
it your favorite computer of all time, or not?
Honestly, my gaming laptop works better than this tower. This with this 4090. Like it's just I don't get it. But anyways,
Have you tried pouring water on it?
I just wanted to say something about Nicholas, but I think I missed it, didn't I? It's over. Is that part of the show over?
You know what? You're lucky, Ryan, because you can listen back to it.
I'll send you a link to the podcast. Check it out. It's a good
Okay.
podcast, dude.
I've heard people like it. Yeah, I heard it's
People
in the top 10% of all podcasts worldwide.
Yeah, of all time.
I just wanted to say I love Nick, and the circumstance in which he came to be on the podcast was so rad, and it was just it was like doing that show with him. I remember afterwards being like, man, I know what I bring to this show, and he brings something I don't have, and he should be on this show. You know, just his knowledge is just so deep, and he finds things that, you know, Easter eggs and those kinds of things all the time. And if I have a question about Star Wars, I ask Nick. You know, it's just he's that guy, I just love that he became a part of this so organically and naturally. Same thing, like Mike, to your point earlier tonight about how you don't really make friends the way, you know, when you're an adult, especially when you're like late 30s, early 40s adult, then it's like really, you know, a lot of times the ship is sailed. You're like, you know, I'm good. I have my people. Yeah. I toured with Bayside more than once, and we never really, even with love of Star Wars, we never really connected. We didn't like hang on the road, and it wasn't anybody's fault. It was just that's the vibe is like, all right, the show's over. I'm 40. I'm going to bed. You know, it's like. It's just like it's not what it was 20 years ago on the road. But finding out what great friends Nick and I would become has been just a real treat and a real highlight of my adult life is my friendship with Nick. And I'm just really grateful that he's in my life. And I wanted to say that tonight.
It's awesome.
You remember we decided Nick should probably be the third host of the podcast in a Taco Bell parking lot?
Yes, we do.
We had a parking lot banquet. Hit the drive-through.
So great.
Sat and had a discussion. It was good.
That was on the same trip as our first Galaxy's Edge experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Right?
What a time.
Yeah.
What a time.
Good shit. All right, let's hear from the patrons. Let's start from the top. Braden Grawrock. Grawrock B is his Discord name. Now I know his first name. He references episode 249 going back to October of this past year. One of the couple, there will be more to come, story pitching episodes, force pitch, we call it. This one was adapting horror and thriller movies to Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I love the episodes where fun new ideas are pitched, and one of my favorites was recently with 239. Realistically, it's from the start of when Nick starts pitching to the end. It was so fun listening to all the ideas and also the Discord chat going off with all of our ideas as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to play a clip of Nick here in a second. He said, Braden says, I really want spooky Star Wars. Give me the Dathomir Mirror Witch project. Realistically, I loved just having a space to geek out with a bunch of like-minded people, whether it's about music or Star Wars. You guys are giving us a space to do this, and it's been incredible.
Yeah, love that.
So let's hear the clip. The clip from Nikki.
All right, Nick, hit us with it. Pitch us.
All right, so like Adam said, I'm not the most horror-focused person in the world. I've been improving, thanks to my lovely lady. She loves the horror, but
that was a close one, man.
I find that if you say it, if you exaggerate it, it sounds less like the word horror.
Sure.
You gotta say
Okay,
horror.
got it. Horror.
So I will just actually go back to like the root of the first time that I was actually truly scared and I slept with the light on because of this movie. And that was when I was a young adult. The Blair Witch Project in 1999.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah.
My top 3 scariest movies of all time, that one.
I slept with the light on for a while because that was a real movie. I don't in 1999
right?
found
Amazing.
footage, right?
Right.
There was no Snopes at that point. We had to believe it.
Yes. the brief summary I found on the Googles describing Blair Witch. Found video footage tells the tale of 3 film students who've traveled to a small town to collect documentary footage about the Blair Witch, a legendary local murderer. Over the course of several days, the students interview townspeople and gather clues to support the tale's veracity. But the project takes a frightening turn when the students lose their way in the woods and begin hearing horrific noises. So I took the assignment very seriously, and I'm just going to basically take that template and plug in Star Wars. So I think if I'm going to do this, it's got to be Clone Wars era.
Okay, I like it.
And my little bit of pitch, according to that template, would be a small group of clones are sent to Dathomir to search for answers on exactly how Savage Opress has come to be and how he is now Count Dooku's apprentice.
Dude.
So this would take place like between Clone Wars arcs, you know,
Sick.
a story within a story.
Yes.
I like it.
From there, I haven't really didn't go as far as to get into specifics about certain things, but you know, the way I figure it would go would just be like, while searching on Dathomir, the clones begin hearing and seeing things as the Night Sisters begin to taunt the clones, and we see the clones go mad one by one with the found footage filmed by their helmets. So
Dude.
I like it.
Okay, so I love this.
That's a great like YouTube series.
I still love it.
Same.
Still a great idea.
100%.
Yeah, we that was a really fun one. Ryan, I wish you would have been there for that, because we give it a listen. We talked about some cool stuff. Mine was Terminator. Mike's was Alien, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was good shit.
Yeah.
We got a couple comments here that don't have audio, but I think we should go ahead and read those, and then we'll get into the others. Ryan, you want to read this next one?
Yeah, next one's from Derek. Episode 145, which was 12/29/22. The 2022 year-end extravaganza featuring everyone. And Derek's comment is, I've thought about it, and listening to the 2022 year-end extravaganza again this morning is probably my favorite episode ever. 2 hours of just pure joy and happiness. Friends talking about coming together over Star Wars. It's always a good listen. And that is so cool to think about, having a piece of content we created that wasn't just digested for the week and then, you know, people move on to the next episode. It's something that you could go back to as a fan of the show, as a listener, when you need a little dose of dopamine, you know, just to
We'll pick
Like
that up.
pick
brighten your
me up.
day.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so cool.
Good stuff. Mike, you want to take the next one?
Our buddy Logan Foy, who was just one of our TKs actually at Mosh Isley. The draft episodes, which we've done a lot of them at this point. They're always a riot. Logan says, my favorite has to be the draft episodes, specifically the one where Sarah represented the Discord. I believe it was number 146. There was a big group of us in the voice chat, and it was chaos. As I type this, I'm sitting with 4 friends from all across the country that I never would have met without Think to Maker and the Discord. Cheers to 5 years. Congratulations. And I can confirm that between Kevin Kornioff and Logan, a whole bunch of other guys in there, like, it was a really cool story because they said that they had joined the 501st because of our podcast, because they'd listened in, they met all these other people who were 501st members, and that inspired them to join. And then it goes from there, right? So there is something very cool about, again, finding your people, finding your tribe, and finding people who support you as just a human, of this interest of saying, I'm reaching out for community. I'm interested in doing this. I'm interested in being different than what is expected of me. And then you find this group of other people who are supporting you in the best way, whatever that is. If it's a passion-led project, I think our Discord has been incredible group of people to support not only these side projects, but also for you guys, coming to see you guys live. I think Nick said it. Probably the amount of Thank the Maker people that you've run into at shows at this point is pretty amazing. So I love the draft episodes as well. But Logan, kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of getting the Discord involved, because the Discord is a fam, baby. It is a fam.
In the club, we all fam. Right? Anybody? Jesus.
Yes,
Okay.
no,
I'm
I
sorry,
got
I was
that.
reading
Yeah.
ahead. I was reading ahead.
In the club, we all fam.
Totally zoned out.
Yeah, that's fine. You're good.
Jonathan Sanders has references a whole range of episodes, because we went on the Galactic Star Cruiser twice, but the first one, I mean, we talked about it so much. It was such an experience. We did 4 episodes in this. 3, 4.
Yep.
Many.
Yep.
He said really episodes 104 to 107, all related to Star Cruiser, are amazing. Being able to relive the Star Cruiser experience through the podcast was awesome. Jonathan, I'm assuming that means you went. Physics Buddy Joe says, same thing, episode 105, Galactic Star Cruiser Review Part 1, emotional damage, all caps, aka everyone crying about how awesome their connection on and with Star Cruiser was. I feel like this episode is the origin story of Mosh Isley. Mike joining the podcast officially, Princess and Scoundrel and Dano joining the crew, and the podcast becoming bigger and better than ever. I did manage to get clips from all 4 of those episodes, but I did compile a few fun things from episode 104. It goes a little something like this. We're going to the Galactic Star Cruiser tomorrow. We're leaving from Earth, apparently.
I hope the First Order doesn't with us.
Dude, for real, we might have to shank somebody on the First Order.
I would love to look at the costumes and how they differ from the 2, but also probably talk to people who went all out, like, say, our friend Nick Garian.
Too much. I got too much. I got too much stuff to wear, people. I have too much stuff.
Too much shit on me!
I'm gonna be like a turtle at some point with like on my back on my jetpack, like, oh, I can't move.
Galaxy's Edge from early on said you couldn't wear like cloaks with hoods and stuff. And I never really knew if they did that for security reasons, because it's like sketchy and you could hide under it.
Yeah.
But I think less that and more so you're not confused with cast members.
Yeah.
Right, as a
Whereas
parkour,
the experience we're going into now, it's acceptable, I think, on this voyage than the original concept of Galaxy's Edge.
I'm trying to turn a profit. I'm gonna have people give me money.
Nick,
We'll get to.
I fucking dare you to post up at the bathroom with a towel and mints and shit. I dare you a costume. I
A little
dare
bit
you.
cologne.
I'll do it.
Yes. Mandalorian cologne. It smells like dirt, turns out. Burnt dirt.
I definitely wanted to go sort of like all black, but to keep kind of with the light side Jedi vibe. So I asked this is humble brag, asked my friend Ashley, X-Sign, friend of the pod.
Who's that?
If she might know anyone who tailored Star Wars costumes, and she referred me to her personal designer who like does all of her stuff for cons and
Flex
cosplay.
on 'em.
But I'm not flexing up because I was about to say I just found out that everyone else brought 19 outfits and I only had 1. So I'm going to be wearing the same thing for 3 days while everyone else looks all cool in their different garb. So
Yeah, Ryan's going to have
it's going to be stinky.
his super high-end, ball-scented
Yes.
outfit for 2 days.
Yeah, it's going to be there's going to be a musty scent by
When
the
I went
time we
to
leave.
Celebration 2019 was my first one in Chicago, and I was taking pictures with every cosplayer, and there was this one Ewok that legitimately was like, yo, you sweat through this thing 20 times. Like, I could tell. It's like the BO, I was just like, I regret wanting to take a picture with you. It stunk so bad. Like, it was hockey bag, but Ewok scented. It was terrible.
So, good segue. What are you most excited about,
This is
Mike?
a cheers and a thank you for all the cast members, the programmers, the designers.
Yeah.
For everyone who has just waded through bullshit online of people who have never experienced this thing, that have been hating on this experience. This is a cheers to everyone who has worked on this thing, that has done amazing things, because all of us are excited to see your hard work. And part of what I'm looking forward to is seeing the latest and greatest of Disney Imagineering. What actually excites me, and it sounds weird to say this, but I'm actually excited about what comes next. Because if this leads to saying we have live interactive theater, this is the information we got out of it. This is what people were into. And honestly, let's do a recap in 6 months. I would be interested to see what changes, because right now, we don't know anything.
And we're like test subjects.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
And Disney doesn't know anything. I mean, they've had people run through it and they go, okay, cool. But from the first reviews, people are like, it's freaking exhausting.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to get exhausted.
Yep.
And at the same time, I'm looking forward to seeing how the feedback shapes what the experience will be in, say, half a year, because that could be really rad too. So I think I'm just excited to pat the people on the back who have been working on this behind the scenes for so long. This is incredible. Cheers to everyone, of course.
Think about the overall arc of our life. We all used to play with little Kenner toys.
Yeah.
Now we're going to
Dressed up as
40
Kenner
years
toys.
later. Yeah, dressed up as these things in a world because Disney 10 years ago bought Lucasfilm, and this has been 10 years in the making. And it's super important, whether or not it's perfect or not, to support creative things, because if we don't support creative things, we don't get creative things.
All that said, of course, Kathleen Kennedy ruined our childhoods, and
Yep.
and all this stuff. She better be there. She better be there tomorrow. I'm gonna give her a piece of my mind.
Yep, and we spent all this money just so that Disney would notice our podcast.
As a shill would do. Okay.
Oh, that was the best episode.
That was a good time.
You were so nervous about it, Adam. No editing, just throw and go. We were all
out of the comfort zone.
There it is.
several silver bullets deep, and you were so worried about it, but it turned out so great.
Good energy. And I left all that stuff at the end on purpose. Because it is interesting. We haven't revisited that episode since we got this terrible news, however long ago it was now, and the most recent news that the Star Cruiser building is getting turned into offices. But the point stands about how special the experience was and all the hard work, all the years that went into making that thing. And God, it's hard to talk about without getting really upset, frustrated, mad.
Yeah. Yeah, because it didn't go the way, Mike, in all of your optimism in that moment. It's not that they're not building on it. They're running in the other direction. It just sucks.
Yeah. Oh, and I do listen when I have to drive, being that I live where I live. I will turn that episode on occasionally because I think the infectious optimism was so apparent in that episode.
Agreed.
And I just remember that being a very special time. We're in kicking boots, man. We're in kicking boots, having ourselves a couple pops after Ryan invited us to go have dinner with Ashley Eckstein. And I remember having great steak and talking to David about saying, hey, man, I really was hoping the Detroit Tigers could win a World Series, but you got MVP because you destroyed us. That was a pretty amazing experience.
Sorry for your loss, Mike.
It's okay. It's okay. But I listened to that and I still actually do feel that excitement, because when I think about it in terms of looking back on the last 5 years, there is a lot to be optimistic for still. There is.
I mean, hey, Luke Skywalker's coming to Disneyland and the Star Cruiser's closing. Everybody gets what they wanted. Okay.
Yeah.
I do.
You win, internet. You win.
You win. I think though, in that sense of what that turned into for us. I mean, in like a month and a half, 2 months, we're going to Japan. I've never been to Japan. The only reason I'm going to Japan is to hang with my dudes.
Over 30 times. You're gonna have the time of your life, bro.
But you know what I mean. It's like I wouldn't have gone especially at this point in my life, if it wasn't for Star Wars and for you guys. And I've traveled more in 2020 than I have in my entire life, and it's been for Star Wars and it's been with you guys. And so when I listen to that, that puts me in a place of like, there is still plenty to be optimistic for.
Absolutely.
So
future's bright, man. Maybe.
Yes.
Some parts of the future.
Let's make it bright. Let's make it bright. Please, let's make it bright.
Yeah, let's turn up the brightness.
All right. Stacey Leanne, episode number 77, the Bad Batch season 1 finale breakdown was the classic. Imagine enjoying the thing that you enjoy, Nick Gambarian of Base.
Can't wait.
Here we go. Let him hear it.
The coolest part about this to me
this is me just like right in the face of every impatient, crabby idiot who's like, oh, man, canon sucks, dude. All the extended universe stuff's better, man. When they made all that stuff Legends, man, they blew it, dude. So much better. No, man. They did that on purpose. They clearly had a plan. We're going to make all this Legends, and then that way we get to pick whatever we want from it and pull it into the cinematic universe and make it awesome.
Yeah.
It's so dope. Just be patient. Like Nick keeps saying, pump the brakes.
Yeah. Enjoy it. Imagine enjoying the thing that you enjoy.
That's my favorite line from John Lennon's Imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine enjoying the thing that you enjoy.
It can be done.
That's a soundbite right there, son.
That's it.
It's legendary.
Stacey Leanne again, episode 15. You were the chosen one. She says a thing that she really loves is Adam saying it went number 2 on me. Okay, what is this reference?
Final thoughts. I have a final thought. Say more if you like. But my takeaway at the end of this, after being at a point where this film didn't rank as highly for me as it did initially when it came out, it went like when it came out, it went number 2. It went number 2 on me. It went to number 2 after Empire.
You got to pay extra for that sometimes.
Depends where you are. It jumped to number 2. Who does number 2 work for? It jumped to my second spot after Empire, and it stayed there for a long time until I was
number 2 on me. I'm sorry, I can't.
You got to pay extra for that sometimes.
It's all right. I can still make the point. It jumped up there to second behind that other movie.
That's pretty good.
Falling apart, dude.
Oh, man. We
I
have
dug a deep
microphones
hole.
and can talk to people.
Top 20 podcast.
Oh,
Hell
that's
yeah.
great. That's great. Stacey Leanne's is episode number 5. No one's ever really gone. She says she loves that Adam is doing light speed skipping math like a boss. One of the many examples of how our genius hosts are and how they can smash any excuse the haters come up with. I love it.
Ooh, get into this.
Light speed skipping. So I went full nerd on this and did some math. Everyone
shocked.
was all fucking up in arms about this. Like, oh, cool. Here's another made up thing, like a Michael Bay style, just made up. I personally thought the light speed skipping shit at the beginning was awesome.
Agreed.
It was like Tokyo Drift, Star Wars, almost, and just fit right in with who Poe is as a pilot, like on the abilities level, on the like seat of his pants, Maverick,
Pushing
Top
the
Gun.
envelope.
Yeah, a lot of the complaints are like, that couldn't happen. They just made that shit up. You know, it took X amount of time, because you have to calculate so you don't fly through a supernova or whatever. So I did the math.
You watched a film and timed it, how long it took to do the calculation.
I did. So in A New Hope, Han says it, do so-and-so while I make the calculations for the jump to light speed, gets up, presses a button on the console, 54 seconds to calculate the jump to light speed. This was 42 years before this movie. So if we assume that Moore's Law, for anyone who doesn't know Moore's Law, it's the idea that every 18 months, a computer processor for the same price will be twice as fast. You get this price performance doubling every 18 months. It's been consistent since the beginning of computers. It basically applies to technology in general. There's an interval, X amount of time, it's twice as good for the same price, and so on. So if we assume this applies to the Star Wars universe, which it should, 42 years later, the upgraded Navicomputer in the Falcon, because they undoubtedly would have upgraded shit. We've got like jets from the 70s still flying that have new computers in them on Earth. It's a thing.
Well, some moof milker put a compressor on the hyperdrive. They were trying to modify. They were trying to Fast and Furious that bitch.
He needs NOS. So 42 years later, following Moore's Law, if he's doing upgrades, that should make that Navicomputer roughly 96 million times faster. In the same way that like my Apple Watch is faster than the computers that were in the Apollo spacecraft that took us to the moon. It's just the way computers work. It's fucking bonkers, but that's the way shit works. So that means it could have done the same calculation that took 54 seconds 42 years ago. It could do the same calculation in 0.0000056 seconds.
That's 6 zeros after the point.
To clarify, it could do the same calculation 1.8 million times in a second. Does that make sense to everyone?
Dude, you just dropped the hammer on the critics in this week's From a Certain Point of View. I mean, hammer, smash, murder, death, kill, sub-zero fatality.
Kill Mary.
Dude, that is insane. It's almost like, based on those stats, it could have been even gnarlier than it was in the movie.
I mean, even assuming like it was a 20-year-old computer in the thing, still.
Okay, so it could do it in 540,000 times in a second?
I think they've got it under control. They can do whatever the they want. So, end of story.
Sub-zero fatality.
It still stands. It still stands.
The math
That's
speaks
great.
for itself.
Oh my
That was a
gosh.
good moment.
Let's see, Stacey Leanne. Her last one was number 55, Battle Lines. The back and forth from 31 seconds of you guys talking about Night Sisters, Mother Talzin, and Old Daka is hilarious. Lothal Minor, known as the Junk World, amazing Top Gun reference. Adam says it's the move. Classic Pete Mitchell, including the audio from Top Gun. It's a perfect clip, she says.
Let's just go to Top Gun. We've got 3 clips here. Let's just do the Top Gun one on principle.
Okay.
Plo Koon, he's flying. They're attacking the prison facility, and he and a clone, one of the Wolfpack pilots, have a couple bogeys on their tail, and I can't shake him, and
Because he was inverted.
Plo Koon tells R7 to cut the engines and fully pulls a Maverick.
I'm bringing him in closer, Merlin. You're gonna do what? This is it, Maverick. I'm gonna hit the brakes. He'll fly right by. Shit, he's gonna get a lock on us. No.
Garian fighters fly right by him. He takes him out. It's classic Pete Mitchell. It's great. Like, it's straight up. It's the move, right?
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
got to be a reference.
For sure.
There's no way it's not.
For
I mean,
sure.
if they're pulling stuff from Predator,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are also children of the 80s. Like, this,
Yeah.
it's definitely in there.
I mean,
It's a byline in this podcast. It is part of the DNA
Yep.
thank the maker. A
It
Star
was
Wars
cooked in
podcast.
from the beginning.
from the beginning, baby.
A Top Gun podcast.
Oh my gosh.
Let's move on to 43% burnt Anakin. Best username.
Great name.
Ryan, you want to read these?
Sure. This is episode 146, the 2022 Star Wars Fantasy Draft, which I'm sure was amazing. And we're about to find out why. Getting this out of the way, order sexy sex. We all know why.
Yeah.
Is that a clip? Just that one?
Well, let's play the clip.
Adam, I need a real proper droid beep, like a Jimmy Kimmel beep when I say this. You'll know where to put comedically, you'll know where to put the beep. But my team, Order Sexy Sex, picked fully on how hard all of these characters
Yes.
Hopefully you find a beep that goes right in between.
Yeah, I got it.
That was very emphatic. That was good.
I got it.
My light side hottie, Obi-Wan Kenobi. My dark side babe, Asajj Ventress. Welcome back to the team. Politician or leader, Padme Amidala. Mwah, beautiful. My smuggler, bounty hunter, or scoundrel, the ultimate daddy, Han Solo.
Jesus.
Really, the inspiration for all of this. I knew I was picking Bix first, and I themed my entire team after the most beautiful girl in the galaxy, Bix
Yeah, Nick's the
Colleen, my
girlfriend.
rebel resistance fighter. The next two are actually all have to do with how good their hair is. Agent Callus, my Imperial, and Hauser, my clone. What a head of hair on that guy.
How's
Just a real Scandinavian queen, Satine Kryze, and that'll give Obi-Wan something to do every once in a while. My droid was, this was the pick that I really
Robbed.
Yeah, it was a robbery.
I was robbed.
It might have been my most ill-advised pick, but some people, they're into a little pain
pain for pleasure, you know? My droid, the torture droid, once again, size matters, and, you know, Super Star Destroyer, pretty big.
Pretty big.
And really, the last pick is my wild card, and he is a wild card, Mr. Lando Calrissian.
It works.
It's kind of your sexiest pick for sexy sex.
Yeah.
Well, what do we have here?
Amazing.
That's pretty good.
How is this not in the top 1% of podcasts in the world, even if you don't like Star Wars?
When you think about that, you're right. That's a great question.
I mean,
Yeah,
come
it's
on,
messed
man.
up.
Continuing with Burn Anakin, episodes 178 through 193, culminating in Star Wars is Emo, episode 194, are what turned me from a casual listener into someone who was deeply invested in the show. Ahsoka has become my favorite Star Wars story, and if I'm being honest, Think the Maker probably had a lot to do with that. Your love, passion, and authenticity as Star Wars fans came through so clearly in those episodes. Hearing you discuss Ahsoka every week showed me a part of the Star Wars fandom I didn't know existed. One that felt welcoming, positive, genuine, and maybe just a little emo. For 5 years, thank you for channeling your passion and positivity into this project. It's become so much more than just a podcast. It's a community I'm proud to be a part of. Woo!
Thank you, 43% Burn Anakin.
Oh,
I'm getting emo right now.
Yeah.
I'm like crying from laughter, but now am I actually crying? I don't know. It's all kind of blurring together.
It's a
what
fine
are all
line,
these
dude.
feelings? Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a great call. That's a great call.
Megan Dutcher, number 52. Hello there, featuring James Arnold Taylor. She says, the first episode I ever listened to was number 52. Hello there with James Arnold Taylor. It's a perfect introduction to Thank the Maker. I was all in from then on. James Arnold Taylor is, he and Ashley Eckstein, famously have voiced two of the most beloved characters in Star Wars in animation. And they're not just like a lot of voice actors are kind of, they have pretty mild or pretty low key social media presences. The two of these folks they're very much out there, and people know James Arnold Taylor. So those two people alone, I think, brought a lot of listeners just by having their
promotion.
Yeah, and their names in the hashtags of the posts and them reposting us. Ashley, she put a link to our podcast in her bio in Instagram for like months. So we owe so much to them, and I think the James Arnold Taylor episode is one of my favorites. I got a great clip from it here. We also have a thing that he recorded then for us, like a liner essentially for the podcast that I never turned into anything.
You can.
Yeah,
you should.
It's not too late.
Now is the time to get some kind of like AI animator thing to
I
make
literally recorded a metal song for you, and you never did anything with it. It's just never too late.
It's never too late. We're also joined by a super special guest, James Arnold Taylor, most famously, as you Star Wars Clone Wars fans would know, as the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Master Plo Koon. Welcome.
Hello there.
Yes. Yes, you did.
Yeah, I did. You got to.
Yeah.
Because everybody expects it now. It's weird. Over the last little bit of time, it's become such a thing. I don't know. I don't know why.
Thank the internet and memes.
Yeah. But so everywhere I go now, hello there, hello there, hello there. So, my wife even says, do the voice, do Obi-Wan. She would prefer me to actually speak like this all the time, I think, yes.
That's amazing that your wife, my wife, now I put on my own band and she's like, oh God, do you have headphones? Can you just,
I think I always was watching people. I would try to be kind of a chameleon and adapt to whatever. And so I think I have this ability when I hear stuff, I could mimic it back. It's like I always envisioned it, and you guys will appreciate this as a musician. I always envisioned it as a tape recorder in my head, an old Tascam, multi-track or something. And
machine.
I find myself, I'll picture the person. So if I'm doing Gray Scott, if I'm doing Christopher Lloyd, I'll picture him in my head, and then and then Marty, it'll just come out, and or Michael J. Fox, I'll picture what he's doing, and I like his the placement of his mouth and in his hands, and whoa, Mallory, whoa, wait a second, so you have to kind of become the person, and so it naturally happens where you start placing your voice where it goes.
Wow.
What a talented man.
That happened.
His speaking voice is so similar to Michael J. Fox to begin with.
You've got to do the liner.
Yeah, you have to.
I'll dig up the drive and do it.
Can it still be used now?
Yeah, for sure. It's really, really good. That's my bad.
Come on, man.
Hey, life happens,
Yeah.
Life also finds a way.
It does. Let's see. We've got Nick's first episode was actually number 7. I've got a really good feeling about this. And that was for Solo? You guys reviewed Solo together.
We did.
Yep.
In his living room.
We just spent 2 days at Galaxy's Edge having the most magical time of our lives. And we're here with a guest, again, our second guest on Thank the Maker.
We are excited to have Nick Garian of the band Bayside, and Nick's going to be with us for the whole episode today while we deep dive into Solo, a Star Wars story.
At the sabacc table, when Han is lying about what ship he has, I think it's VCX 100, which is the ghost from Rebels.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Sick.
Because he also kind of like slurs. It sounds like he says V6 100. So I like literally turn on subtitles and I'm like, I want to make sure he's saying VCX 100. And he was.
You belong here. First of all, Nick, thanks for being here, dude.
Thank
you.
you.
Would love to have you back anytime, brother. Yeah. It was awesome deep diving with you and just so cool.
Say deep dive one more time.
That's so wholesome.
Oh man, that's what I'm talking about though. That was the kind of stuff that we, in that single interview we got in the car afterwards, we're like, do we want to go in the garage and do karate right now with Nick Garian? Yes, we do. He's hired.
Yeah, that's wholesome.
That's good. Our buddy Colin Adams, brilliant maker. He makes some of the coolest stuff.
Yep.
Just you could tell the dude's a designer.
Yeah.
A graphic designer first and foremost, and because the way he approaches making, it's just he's not just fabricating, he's not just replicating things. He's got a real beautiful eye for design. He makes these awesome cases for all his stuff too. He doesn't just make armor and costumes; like he makes cases for all of them, and it'll be like a little Pelican briefcase kind of thing, or like a cooler turned into a helmet case or something.
People know him as Odd Viking on Instagram.
Episode 126, The Brilliance of John Williams, featuring Dion Rexroth from Anne Boleyn. Colin said, I'm not at all musically inclined, and I don't know why I like what I like or why certain music makes me feel the way it does. This episode opened my mind to why John Williams' music all works so well, how themes and moments subtly remind me of other moments in an intentional way. I knew I was feeling emotions, but I wasn't fully aware of how much music was driving those in such a perfect way. Hearing a group of deep Star Wars and music nerds analyze and walk us through this brilliance just struck me with a new appreciation for it all, from an angle I had never really considered before. I love this podcast. We're joined this week by a guest from the band world, Dion Rexroth.
Hey, thanks for having me back, guys.
We're here with another musician to talk about the music of Star Wars. We're going to talk about all of the music of Star Wars to some degree, but we're going to get really caught up in John Williams. That goes without saying.
Here's my favorite moment. Throne room scene in The Last Jedi. Right here. This is, to me, the best cue ever. If ever there was a moment where I wanted to stand up in a theater because of a moment, it was the Force theme hitting while Kylo pulled the Skywalker legacy saber into Rey's hand, and my goodness, man, is that a good moment.
God, what a scene, dude. What a scene. Man, you playing that, I like the whole entire scene flashed through my mind. Like,
I mean, it's still going in my head right now. I'm just picturing.
Dude, the behind the shoulder, the lightsaber through the face, just there's the drop, the mic drop move. It just, there's so
The sequels are awesome. Everyone can suck it.
What's so interesting about that moment, you referenced the Force theme, and you chose that moment where Williams is doing something, he's doing a much different thing with that motif than he is during the Binary Sunset in A New Hope. The instrumentation, the harmonies that he's doing with it, it's like it's the same force, but it's about power in that moment.
Gravity.
In the Binary Sunset moment in A New Hope, it's about the force sort of calling to Luke. It's about longing and trying to connect with something distant or kind of mysterious. But in that Last Jedi moment, it's about Kylo and Rey harnessing the force together as a dyad and about the power that it gives them.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's the same force, but it's how the character's experiencing it in the different scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the power of a dude like John Williams.
You guys are pretty good at this stuff, man. You guys should really keep this going.
I don't remember saying those words, but I
definitely don't remember saying everyone can suck it.
I stand by everything we said in that clip still.
100%.
Oh, that's good.
100%.
I'm going to watch that scene in here before I have to go back. Laura and I are staying at my parents' house while our house is listed for showings. So I only get to come over here to my man cave at night. So as soon as we shut down, I'm watching the throne room scene.
It rips.
It's super loud.
Yeah, please
Can't
do.
wait.
Okay, what do we got next?
Let's see, Ryan, you got this next one?
Who's up?
The mic clip, right?
Oh, hey, Mike. I got you. Episode 62, introducing Armor Party. This was Mike's first episode.
We have a guest, a dude who we met. We'll talk about how we met after I say your name. Mike Forrester, known to the world as the owner, creator of Hondo Supply.
Thank you for having me.
For those who don't know, Hondo Supply is an unlicensed Star Wars merch kind of company. Tell us a little bit about that and how you got that started. Because we met you online by just finding your stuff and thinking, oh, that's tight. And then you were hitting us up and
Tinder. We met him on Tinder.
Let me actually tell you
we swiped the right direction to.
We swiped right. Let me tell you an even funnier story. So in 2003, Story of the Year opened for The Used at a makeup show from a canceled show earlier that summer. And so the Story of the Year played and opened up for The Used. Incredible show. And we went to a Catholic high school. And we had this very synonymous Crusader cross necklace. And I think you had one of those necklaces on.
Yeah. I totally forgot about this. Holy shit.
Yeah. So we went up and we're like, hey, man, you got the Crusader cross. He goes, you guys go to a Jesuit school? We're like, yeah, man. He's like, holy cow, that's incredible. Why don't you guys just come backstage and just hang out? We're like, sure. Well, there's not really a backstage at this place. It's pretty much you walk up 2 steps and there you are at the back door. So I drank my first Corona. That was my first experience with Mexican beer, which was lovely. When we walked up, there was the barricade for people that were getting stuff signed. We just walked right into it, and people were shoving CDs on our faces, my friend Jewel and I. And so we signed those albums. So
Nice.
if someone is listening to the Story of the Year podcast or listens to this through Story of the Year, and you're looking down and going, why are there 7 autographs on this CD? I apologize for devaluing your stuff.
Yeah.
I love it.
And the funny part is Jewel, who I was with, works crane on, he does all the sweeping shots on the big crane for nearly every episode of Star Wars on Disney Plus.
It's amazing.
The Force works in mysterious ways.
It does. As we've said many times, it's like just everything about this. Like it's just kind of, I know, I don't believe in fate or destiny or anything, but it's like when you think about how all these pieces have fallen into place, people we knew years ago that we reconnected with or that we met through, it's just, it feels like the damn Force.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Speaking of people, connections.
Ooh, this was a Jacksonville connection, Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan,
Correct.
tell us how this came about.
Early days of the podcast, a good friend of mine, one of my closest friends, like my whole life. We went to high school together, so we've been friends for 30 plus years now. My friend Patrick Husinger, who is very successful actor. Went to Juilliard. Has been in so many things. First time I saw him after high school, he was in Fiddler on the Roof on Broadway. It was, I mean, just surreal experience, you know. So he's done a lot of amazing work. And when after we had him on the show, he mentioned that he was close with Emily Swallow, who at that time was, you know, The Mandalorian was coming to be the hit show that it was becoming. And so Patrick connected us with Emily because Emily is from Jacksonville, Florida, the same hometown that Patrick and I share. And she and Patrick went to middle school and like 1 year of high school together before Patrick ended up coming and going to the school that I met him at and we graduated from. And they remained friends and they stayed close. Obviously, they both were having a lot of success in you know, in their career path as actors, and so I think they stayed connected in that way. And he was like, "I bet she would be on the show if she can." And I remember being like, "There's no way she's gonna be able to be on the show."
Right.
And it was the same kind of situation with Ashley, where the dust settled and the press cycle died down, and then she was able to do it. And we covered Empire Strikes Back with her.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Which is so fun to me. The fact that like it's not like, so tell us about, you know.
Yeah, we
you get
didn't
to
talk
just
about The
hang.
Mandalorian. We just talked really that much. I don't think I mean, I'd have to listen to the whole episode again, but we really got deep into what's my line? We were deep diving into Empire Strikes Back, and you know, that film for me is that's it. That's the buck stops there. So that was one of my favorite episodes of the podcast to be a part of. So the episode was called "You Must Unlearn What You Have Learned." Just on the silence there.
Our very most specialistest guest yet, in my opinion.
You're not wrong.
Emily Swallow, actor.
Hi.
What's up?
We have the armorer in the building.
We have a real Star Wars universe actor on the show. The armorer is here. Emily, hi.
Hi.
What is your earliest Star Wars memory?
Well, you know, I actually asked my parents about this when I was here because I didn't have a recollection of like when I saw any of the movies. I just remember it like being part of the fabric of my childhood. Like I had Ewoks and I wanted to be Princess Leia. And I remember like those just being these integral pieces of like my childhood, you know, imagination playtime. I remember being in the backyard with my Ewoks, like in the bushes, because of course, you know, we were on Endor and we were keeping it real there and protecting the yard. So they played a lot outside. I think they probably got pretty dirty and had some adventures.
I have to ask you, because you talked about the bushes in your backyard that became the forest moon of Endor. And so Star Wars was in your life. Just generalize your reaction when you got the call that you were going to be in a Star Wars series as like an integral character. Like, what was that moment like?
There was so much that I did not know even when I got it, that I didn't really have a big moment of like, oh, wow. I think until like the show was announced, because I was just so confused. Like, because we'd never had a live action Star Wars before. But like my audition was so low key. It was just with the casting director and a camera. I never met anybody else from the show. And so they were telling me like that this was an important character, but I didn't really like, and I knew I was only in 3 episodes. So I was like, well, it can't be that big a deal. It really wasn't until I saw the whole series that I was like, oh, the armorer is actually pretty important.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad, because I think I would have like pooped my pants. I would have been so nervous.
Oh man, I remember, you know, she recorded that episode here in Jacksonville. She was at her parents' house for the holidays or something like that. And I remember that because she said in that clip, you know, I asked them when I was here, and I remember she was like in her childhood bedroom with her phone set up in the closet as like an ISO booth to record. But what a great episode that was.
Yeah,
she's awesome. She's a good hang, and we've gotten to cross paths with her a few times since then. And Ryan, I don't know if I filled you in after we're in New York for Mos Eisley. Yeah, we're on Sonfield's boat.
Yep.
And she was there with some other Star Wars folks.
Yeah.
And just like reconnected on I was like, hey, one of the hosts of Thank the Maker, you were on, and she's like, oh yeah, and rewound and reconnected the memory of how through Patty and you and that whole Jacksonville connection, and just got to hang and talk with her for a while. She's just like a super chill person, very very smart, very talented. And, we may talk to her again soon.
Yeah, nice. She's helping us with LA Strikes Back. She's awesome. She's been helping us contribute some projects that people are going to use to raise money to help people like Jason and everybody else. So she's awesome. She's fantastic. Our next guest we had on was Paul Sun-Young Lee, who goes by Carson Teva, everyone's favorite X-Wing pilot in the New Republic. And he came on. He actually was an Armor Party guest first because he's a multi-decorated 501st member. And I remember asking him, like, hey, you want to come on my other podcast? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. Couldn't be a nicer guy over there in Toronto. Number 79, episode 79, behind the return of Luke Skywalker. Carson
We have a
Teva himself.
guest, a very special guest. You may know him as Appa on the award-winning show Kim's Convenience, but you may also, in the case of this podcast, more importantly know him as the New Republic pilot Carson Teva in The Mandalorian. Paul Sun-Young Lee, what's up?
Hello, thanks for having me. It's an honor. I'm in a pilot's uniform, fully kitted up, sitting in a cockpit that has got practical lights blinking back and forth on it, and I'm holding, the flight stick, and I look across, and there's a star field, and a complete star field projected, and there's an image of the Razor Crest right off my starboard bow. I'm looking at it, and it was like a ride. They had me filming like hard turns and dives and banks and stuff like that. And we did that for like 10 minutes.
Dude.
And I was like, again, please, again. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever experienced the level of jealousy that I am experiencing in this moment.
Sorry. It was so cool though, man. It's still, and that's the thing. It's better than any ride. And then when you're kitted up and everything.
Yeah. And I can't imagine.
Yeah. The cockpit's not moving, but you feel like you're moving. Because everything is so real. It's so easy to lean into those turns. And as the X-Wing banks around to try to get a better angle of attack on the Razor Crest, right? Like that stuff is like,
man.
I'm 5 years old again. And I'm playing in like $1 million play box.
Congratulations on life in general, Paul.
Well done.
You got healthcare up there. You're in Star Wars. It's great.
Just extremely fortunate.
Too much politics.
One of us.
Right. Nice little shout out to the friends in the north there. Wow.
Shout out to our 1-star review on Apple Podcasts.
That's right. That's right. Oh my gosh. And then Ryan, I mean, take these next two because this is
Sure. Yeah. Auntie Ahsoka is both of the next clips come from episode 23. The words that hang above my child's crib on the wall, I am a Jedi like my father before me.
We are also joined today by a very, very special guest, Ashley Eckstein.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, guys.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone. To me, Star Wars means hope. It just means good overcoming evil. And Vader there saying it's too late for him, I feel like is such a symbol of some people feel like there's no hope left. Mm-hmm. And, when I am looking for hope, I turn to Star Wars. There's always hope. It's never too late for hope. There's always light. As Ahsoka says in Rise of Skywalker, let the light guide you as it guided us. There's always light. There's always hope. It's never too late. And I think it's something we all need right now. I'm not going to lie. I had a down moment today, and I'm really thankful for being on this podcast because it's reminded me of really what I want to focus on is that, we've now spent over 2 hours talking about what we love about Star Wars and talking about family and talking about hope and all the good things. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. So thank you guys for allowing me to do that and reminding me of that.
I don't even know.
That was
what
great.
To, I don't even know what to say.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
I need some ventilation in this.
Yeah,
in my basement.
Oof.
It's like there's onion fumes everywhere.
I'm
Jill,
allergic
stop
to
cutting
jerks.
onions upstairs.
I'm allergic to jerks.
You got another clip from that episode?
I do, and this one might.
This is gonna break us all.
the Moronians.
Run it.
What do you think Ahsoka would tell Luke and Leia about their father if they ever met?
I have to hope that Ahsoka would tell them stories of the hero Anakin Skywalker, that she would tell them all the good memories and all of the amazing things about him, because Ahsoka views Anakin Skywalker as a brother. I mean, she pretty much says it in this last season of Clone Wars when they ask her, how did you learn to fight like that? And she said, my brother taught me. The bond that they share goes beyond friendship, goes beyond teacher and student. It is brother, sister, for sure. So I would think she would tell stories to them of a family member and tell them that their father was a hero.
Loving stories about Sky Guy.
Yes. She said, let me tell you about my Sky Guy.
That's beautiful.
Yep. That'll do it.
I can't believe that I sat next to her on that plane, and
I know, man.
we were starting a Star Wars podcast that day.
Yeah.
It is just surreal.
Yeah.
It's the Force.
She's a legend.
Here's the thing, man. I'm so happy that happened for many reasons. I'm happy that you two have become such good friends, and you have this relationship, and she knows your child and your wife and all this good stuff. But when I hear her voice, and I don't see her face like this, I hear Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I always talk about being afraid to demystify Star Wars, I don't think I want to know her any better than I know her now.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I don't want to hear her voice too much. I don't want to, you know what I mean? I don't want to like,
yeah.
If you put a soft serve ice cream machine in your house, the ice cream's not going to be as cool after a short period of time.
I've been in conversations with Ashley over the last 5 years now, where she's gotten real about something that we were talking about, and it's not you are taken out of this is Ahsoka Tano. This is my friend Ashley, who I'm learning about and sharing a moment with, having a conversation with, sharing emotion with. It's like it does change it for sure.
Yeah.
But she's such a wonderful person, and I think she embodies everything that we set out to accomplish with this podcast. She is just an example of how to live your life in so many ways, in the face of adversity, in the way you do for others, just the way she carries herself with such a positive energy. It's inspiring, honestly, to be around her. And I'm saying that equally as a friend and as a fanboy. It's both things,
It's awesome. I don't have sufficient words at my disposal right now to express all the feelings I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So let's end there. I think that there's no better place to end it. For the bonus segment for patrons, just throw us some questions in the stream chat here in the Discord, and we'll talk about some stuff. Just want to close by saying thank you, patrons. Thank you, dudes. Nick, if you can hear me through the Force, thank you. Thank everyone for being on this ride with us. Jason, thank you for everything along the way, and now being an official member of the team. There are plenty of days where I'm just like, I just don't feel like doing it right now. I'm just, even sometimes I want to watch Star Wars and not have to take notes and immediately go talk about it. But there are there's an endless number of shit that wouldn't be even a fraction as enjoyable and fulfilling as this has been. So I am incredibly thankful, and I'm full of appreciation. So thank you.
Well, we couldn't do it without you, boss.
That's true. That's true. I think every
grateful
time
to you.
I think every time I try to do this without you, I screw something up. and that has become a
So
nice
many
little
buttons.
It's been a nice characteristic, from Mark the Intern to a Top Gun reference to my wife to Thank the Maker, a whatever is happening podcast. I think from my side of things, looking back on this, I look at moments in time. I look at the fact that both of you guys are playing some of the biggest shows of your life. I love that for you guys. I love that for opportunities coming back. I love that for the fact that, like, when we were young, kicked off this whole genre of people just re-embracing who they were. I look at it from a standpoint of going, like, me getting to know you guys on such a, like, talking everyday level, and going from being like, oh, this is cool in concept if you were to pinch me at 15 or 16, to now just wanting to support you guys as friends. And I think you really start to see that as we're all adults, everyone in the Discord meeting each other. There is truly something special about looking back in the last 5 years and being grateful and being impressed at what has happened and where our lives have gone. As I said, we're going to Japan in 2 months. In a crazy way. I mean, I'm talking not just attending, but like we're actually going to create content and be part of a media team, basically. That's amazing.
We're in the big leagues now.
In the big league. I mean, that is amazing, dude. And then, Ryan, you've got things coming down the pipeline and new homes, and, Adam, like, we're launching these projects and these other ideas that we're bringing to life. And I'm just like, to quote Ryan Key, what is life? Mm-hmm. What is this? You know what I mean? And I'm incredibly grateful to see where the next 5 years will be. What will happen then? It will be definitely more gray hair. We cannot deny that. Absolutely.
We'll literally be 50.
Yeah.
Well, Adam and I will.
Some of you. Some of you.
So wild. So wild.
Right. But most importantly, we're grateful for this community. That's what it comes down to. This community, without a doubt. And George Lucas, I suppose.
George is a good guy.
Yeah. Tabuate, together as one.
Bright suns,
rising moons.
May the force be with you.
If you enjoy Thank the Maker, you can support us by following and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Or you can support us directly at patreon.com/thankthemakerpod, where you can get access to our Discord server, exclusive content, exclusive merch, our recording live stream, and more. Our patrons quite literally make Thank the Maker possible.